Get your bid in writing before August 19th. That's the short version, and if you only listen to the next 30 seconds, that's the part that matters. Here's what's going on. Cement is on the new list of Canadian goods hit with 50% tariffs, and those tariffs kick in on August 19th, 2026. So if you've got a concrete pour planned in Wisconsin this fall, the single most useful thing you can do today is pick up the phone and ask your contractor one question. How long is this quoted price good for? That's it, that's the whole move right now. Wisconsin Public Radio ran a piece back on July 24th about this, and economic development folks around the state are paying close attention. The list is a strange one, honestly. It covers everything from wine and dairy to hockey sticks. And cement. Sam Rickers over at the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation called Canada our single most important trading relationship, and the numbers back that up. In 2024, Wisconsin shipped roughly $8.5 billion in goods north and brought back about $6.3 billion. That's not a side relationship, that's the main one. Now here's where I want to be really straight with you, because this is where a lot of people are going to get sold something. Nobody can tell you what a yard of concrete will cost in October. Nobody. If somebody quotes you a precise future increase, it's going up 18% signed today, they're guessing, and they're using your anxiety as a closing tool. Cement doesn't go straight from a plant to your driveway. It moves through terminals, then ready-mix plants, then haulers, and every one of those links absorbs cost a little differently. Some eat it, some pass it through, some already locked in supply months ago. What we actually know is simpler. The input is on a tariff list and the list has a firm start date. That's enough to make a written, dated quote worth more than usual. It's not enough to justify panic. And here's the thing people miss, cement is one line item, it's not the whole price. Concrete work is mostly labor, prep, and equipment. Material's a real chunk of your number, sure, but on most residential jobs it isn't the majority. Think about where your money actually goes. The cement and ready mix, that's directly exposed, it's literally named on the list. Rebar and wire mesh, that's indirect because steel pricing tends to move with trade policy generally. Fuel and delivery also indirect. Base stone and gravel, barely touched because that's sourced regionally right here in Wisconsin. And labor and equipment, zero exposure from this tariff. None. Look at that list again. Two of your biggest levers have nothing to do with Canada at all. Scheduling and scope discipline will still save you more money than trying to outguess a material market. That's been true forever and it's true this month too. So let's talk about what you actually do with this. Before you sign anything, ask 5 questions. First, how many days is this price held and is that written on the estimate, not said on the phone? Written. Second, is there an escalation clause tied to material cost and what exactly triggers it? Third, is the ready mix actually ordered and scheduled or is it just budgeted in the number? Big difference. Fourth, if weather pushes the pour past the hold date and in Wisconsin weather absolutely will try, what happens to the price? And fifth, does that number include base prep, reinforcement and control joints, or are those separate line items you'll discover later? A contractor who answers all 5 clearly and without squirming is telling you something important. They understand their own supply chain. Honestly, that's a better signal than being the lowest bid on the stack. The lowest bid is often just the person who understands their costs the least. Okay, which projects should you actually move up? Anything structural. Foundations and footings use the most volume, which means they carry the most material exposure. If you've got footing or foundation work planned for an addition in Milwaukee or Madison, that's the job to lock in first. No question. Second on the list is a replacement driveway. On most residential properties, that's the biggest single pour you'll ever order. A 2-car drive in Green Bay or Appleton is a genuinely meaningful amount of mix. But the cosmetic stuff, that can wait. A backyard patio, a decorative stamped surface, those use far less volume per project. Your material bill on those is small enough that pushing them to spring costs you almost nothing in exposure. So if your budget only stretches to one project this year, put it in the ground where the concrete's doing structural work. Let the pretty stuff wait for warmer weather and a calmer market. Now here's the part I really want you to hear, because this is where I've watched people lose real money. When material prices move, there's always a temptation to thin the slab. Skip some of the base, shave a little here and there to keep the number where you wanted it. In Wisconsin, that's the most expensive decision a homeowner can possibly make. Our freeze-thaw cycles are relentless. Water gets in, freezes, expands, thaws, and does it again, dozens of times a winter, year after year. A slab that saved you a few $100 today will crack and heave within a handful of winters. And replacing it costs many times what you saved. That's not a scare tactic, that's just what happens here. So hold the line on 4 things, no matter what the mix costs. Compacted base at proper depth, compacted not just dumped and raked out. Air-entrained mix rated for northern exposure. Control joints cut on schedule, not weeks later when someone finally gets around to it. And positive drainage carrying water away from the structure. Everything else on that bid is negotiable. Those 4 are what separate a slab that lasts decades from one that's failing by 2032. So that's the picture. Cement's on the list, the date is real, and the smart response isn't panic. It's a dated written quote, honest questions and structural work first. If you want a real number instead of a headline reaction, talk to somebody who's ordering mix every single week. They know what their supplier is actually saying, not what a news story is speculating. That's what we do at Contractors Wisconsin. We work with crews across Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Kenosha, Racine, Appleton, and communities all over the state. Reach out through our quote request form, and we'll get you a dated, written estimate while your timeline is still yours to choose. Because right now it still is. Take care of yourself and get that pour scheduled.